The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched wider than any cathedral on Earth. Its roof shimmered with artificial starlight, constellations painted across black steel, glowing softly as though the void of space itself had bent down to listen. Hundreds of alien delegates sat at their long curved tables, their voices a rising tide of arguments, trade disputes, and ancient rivalries. It was supposed to be another day of endless speeches. Another day where humanity, the small and fragile newcomers of the galaxy, was mentioned briefly, then forgotten just as quickly. For decades, Earth had been silent. Too poor, too primitive, too fractured to matter in the games of empires. But the silence ended that day. Without warning, the lights flickered. Holograms twisted and stuttered. Every communication channel, every screen, every projection, all at once, shifted to black. The council chamber froze. Delegates shouted. Guards reached for weapons. And then, a sound. A human voice, cold and mechanical, carried across the room. It did not speak in words. It spoke in numbers. 10. The chamber rippled with confusion. 9. Every alien communicator displayed the same message. Every private channel, every ship, every relay, all were hijacked by this single human signal. 8. A countdown. Nothing more. But it was enough. The Korth Dominion delegate, a towering insectoid with blade-like arms, hissed loudly. This is an attack. They are declaring war. The Thal engineers, smaller amphibian creatures with glassy eyes, trembled. No. It is too simple. Too bold. Why only numbers? 7. The voice echoed again, calm, unhurried, unshaken. The chamber grew tense. Aliens who had not thought of Earth for decades suddenly remembered old stories. Stories of how humans once fought wars on their own world so brutal, so endless, that even the stars seemed kinder in comparison. Stories of how humans had always looked weak, but never truly broke. 6. Delegates looked at one another nervously. Humanity had been quiet for too long, too peaceful, too invisible. Why now? Why this? The Speaker of the Council, an ancient being of crystal and light, rose slowly from its chair. Its voice hummed through the chamber. Silence. We will not fall to panic. This is only a signal. We must demand explanation. Earth will answer. But Earth did not answer. 5. The countdown kept falling. Across the galaxy, fleets halted. Merchants stopped in mid-transaction. Soldiers stared at their comms in disbelief. Children in far colonies looked up from their games to ask their parents what the strange numbers meant. The signal was everywhere. No system was untouched. 4. Some panicked. Colonies near human space locked their gates, shields raised. Armadas moved toward Earth's border. The Orvic Empire deployed half its fleet before the number even reached 3. 3. Inside the chamber, one alien delegate whispered to another. Humans were always weak. Always afraid. They begged for trade. They begged for peace. Why would they do this now? His companion, older and scarred from wars long past, leaned closer. Perhaps they were never weak. Perhaps they were only waiting. 2. The chamber fell silent. Every being, every species, every empire, all listening to the human voice counting down toward something no one understood. 1. A final breathless moment hung in the air. Weapons primed. Defenses raised. Minds ready for the unthinkable. And then, 0. Nothing. No explosion. No weapon. No invasion fleet appearing in the skies. The message ended as suddenly as it began. The holograms flickered back. The lights stabilized. The council chamber returned to normal, though nothing truly felt normal again. The delegates erupted in noise. Some shouted that it was a bluff, a cruel joke. Others swore it was a threat, a signal of war. Fear mixed with fury. But beneath it all, there was something worse than anger. Uncertainty. For decades, Earth had been ignored. Now, In a single moment, every empire in the galaxy was forced to remember them. Not as weaklings. Not as beggars. But as a mystery. What had the countdown meant? Why now? What had humanity been hiding? Far from the chamber, in the quiet blackness of deep space, something stirred. Machines older than the council itself groaned awake. A pulse, faint but steady, rippled outward from a forgotten corner of human space. The countdown had ended. And something had begun. The speaker of the council tried to restore order. We will investigate. We will demand answers. Humanity will not be allowed to disrupt galactic peace. But peace was already broken. Because everywhere, across every world, people whispered the same question. If humans had finally chosen to stop being silent, what were they planning to do next? The Korth Dominion envoy slammed its blade arm into the table. They mock us. They dare to test us. We should strike before they move. The crystalline speaker replied coolly, strike against what? A voice. A number? You do not understand. Humans are not reckless. They are deliberate. If they did this, it was for a reason. Perhaps the reason is war, another delegate muttered. Or perhaps, whispered an old amphibian voice from the back, the countdown was not for us at all. That thought lingered in the chamber long after the meeting ended. Outside the council's walls, in hidden systems forgotten by the galaxy, great shadows began to shift. Engines the size of mountains roared back to life. Hulls older than nations groaned as they tasted energy again. A forgotten fleet, sleeping in silence for centuries, now stirred to motion. And while alien empires argued in their council chambers, humanity remained quiet. No words. No messages. No explanation. Only silence. Silence, and the awakening in the dark. The countdown had been the beginning, and the galaxy would never forget the day it started. The signal from Earth still echoed in the minds of the galaxy. Days passed, then weeks, but there was no message, no explanation, no apology. The mysterious countdown remained a shadow that none could escape. In the Galactic Council, arguments turned into threats. Empires accused one another of conspiring with humanity. Old rivalries grew sharper. No one trusted anyone, and yet all eyes drifted back to the same small blue planet that had once been treated as little more than a child among giants. Far from the shining council chambers, in the quiet dark between stars, a freighter ship drifted on its usual route. It was an old vessel, patched together with rusted plates and second-hand technology. Its crew of 3 believed they were alone in the void, just another nameless ship hauling minerals from one outpost to another. But as they moved through the fringe systems near human space, their scanners caught something unusual. A faint signal. Old. Forgotten. The captain, a scarred reptilian veteran of countless border wars, frowned at the readings. No colonies here. No stations. Should be nothing but dust. His engineer shook her head. The signal's human. It's buried deep, old encryption, older than the council itself. Curiosity overcame caution. The freighter changed course. Hours later, they drifted into the shadow of a vast, silent structure. It was no asteroid, though it had been disguised as one. A station, ancient and cloaked, hidden in the dark for longer than anyone had lived. They docked, cautiously, weapons ready. Inside, there was no sound. The walls were covered in dust, the air still and lifeless. For a moment, it seemed abandoned. But then, as the crew moved deeper, the lights flickered to life. One by one, vast halls began to glow. Doors opened. And then they saw them. Rows upon rows of warships, silent and waiting. Thousands of them, their hulls dark, their weapons sleeping. Human design, but unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Larger, sharper, more advanced than the crude vessels Earth had once shown the Council. These were predators, waiting in the dark. The captain whispered, This fleet could burn empires." As if in answer, the ships stirred. Engines lit, humming like the heartbeat of a giant. The freighter crew ran back to their ship, panic in their eyes. They fled the station, their sensors screaming as the first warship systems came alive. One ship became 2. 2 became 10. Then 100. The fleet was no longer asleep. Across the galaxy, alarms rang. Scouts reported movement at the edge of human space. Armadas that should not exist were suddenly real. Empires scrambled to raise fleets. Panic spread faster than light. If the countdown had been a warning, this was the reason. In the council chamber, voices rose in fear and anger. They hid this from us for centuries. Impossible. Earth was primitive. They had nothing. Then explain the fleet moving now. The speaker of the council, glowing softly in its crystalline form, spoke above the noise. Humanity has played a game we never understood. They hid their strength, their knowledge, their true power. And now they reveal it. One delegate slammed his fist onto the table. Then we must destroy them before they move against us. Another hissed. And if they are not moving against us? Look at the path. They are not advancing on any empire. They are not pointing their guns at us. They are heading away from the galaxy. Away. The chamber fell into stunned silence. The fleet was not marching toward conquest. It was moving outward, to the rim, to the black beyond the stars. A veteran delegate with scarred skin leaned forward. Perhaps the countdown was never meant as a threat. Perhaps it was a signal. Not to us, but to themselves. The time had come. For what? We do not yet know. Across the stars, the freighter crew carried their story. They told anyone who would listen about the station, about the ships that woke from their slumber, about the power hidden in plain sight. Most called them liars. Some called them prophets. All agreed on one thing: humanity was no longer what the galaxy believed it to be. And in the dark, the forgotten fleet moved with purpose, chasing a destination no alien could understand. The countdown had ended. The awakening had begun. Deep beneath the fortified prisons of the Veloc Empire, a man sat alone in a narrow cell. The walls were smooth black stone, impossible to scratch, impossible to break. He had been there for 2 decades, locked away like a dangerous animal. The guards barely remembered the reason he had been taken alive. At the time, humans were considered little more than an annoyance, a primitive species that spoke loudly but carried no real threat. He had been captured during a border skirmish, kept alive only because someone thought he might be useful for study. For 20 years he said nothing. He ate the food given to him. He sat in silence when questioned. He refused to answer, even under torture. He simply watched, his eyes calm and steady, as though he were waiting. The Veloc interrogators called him the Stone. The name spread among the guards, until he became a silent myth within the prison walls. The human who never spoke. But then the countdown happened. When the mysterious signal echoed across the galaxy, when every screen flashed with the numbers falling to 0, the prisoner lifted his head for the first time in years. His lips curved into a faint smile. He said nothing, but the guards who saw it were shaken. They told their superiors, who reported to higher command. The Empire decided to question him again. The chamber was cold and brightly lit when the prisoner was dragged in. 5 interrogators stood waiting. The lead officer, his chitinous shell gleaming under the lights, leaned forward. You knew. The signal came from your people, and you smiled. Tell us why. For a long moment, the man said nothing. The guards shifted uneasily. Then, finally, his voice filled the chamber. It was rough from disuse, but strong. You woke something, he said simply. The interrogators froze. The officer slammed his claw against the table. Explain. What was the countdown? What are your people planning? The human's calm gaze met his. It was not a plan. It was a door. And now the door has opened. We cannot hold it back anymore. Confusion flickered through the room. The interrogators exchanged looks. What door? What are you talking about? The human only leaned back against his chair. His eyes glinted in the light, filled with something the aliens could not name. You will see. Soon. The officers pressed him with questions, threats, promises of freedom. He answered none of them. He only repeated his words when pushed. You woke something. And now, it comes. The Veloc Empire dismissed the man as insane, a relic from a dying world. But within days, reports began to arrive from the outer colonies. Whole settlements, gone. Not attacked, not destroyed with fire or weapons, but gone. Entire populations vanished, leaving only silent cities behind. At first, empires blamed one another. Armadas clashed on borders, suspicion burning like wildfire. But the stories from the survivors, few as they were always the same. Shadows had come from the stars. No shape, no clear form. Only darkness, swallowing everything in silence. When the Veloc officers returned to the human prisoner with this news, they expected surprise, maybe fear. Instead, he smiled again. They are here already, he whispered. Who? The officer demanded. The man leaned forward, his eyes cold, his voice low. The ones we built the silence for. The ones we never told you about. The ones we always knew were coming. You never understood why we stayed quiet, why we let you think we were weak. You will understand soon. The guards shifted nervously. Even the hardened officer's mandibles clicked in unease. There was something about the human's calm certainty that was worse than rage or threats. Why should we believe you? The officer asked. Because you have no choice, the man replied. Far across the galaxy, yet another colony fell silent. And in the void, deeper than any empire dared travel, shadows spread wider, hungrier. The prisoner closed his eyes and spoke again, almost to himself. The countdown was never for you. It was for us. To remind us that the time had come. And now, humanity will stop holding back. The fleets of the galaxy gathered at the edge of human space. Tens of thousands of ships from dozens of empires formed walls of metal and firepower, their weapons locked and ready. Every admiral, every commander, every soldier waited, their nerves stretched thin. They had seen the hidden human fleet awaken. They had heard whispers from prisoners and survivors. And yet, no one truly knew what the humans were preparing to do. The armadas floated in silence, watching. Human ships appeared at last, gliding from the darkness like predators from deep water. Their designs were unlike anything the galaxy had seen, sleek, sharp, and alive with strange energy that made sensors flicker and fail. They did not advance aggressively. They did not form attack lines. They moved with calm purpose, ignoring the alien fleets entirely. The alien commanders were baffled. They had expected defiance, perhaps a message of war, maybe even a desperate plea. Instead, the humans sailed past them, their ships aligned in a strange formation pointing outward, toward the rim of the galaxy, toward the endless dark. In the flagship of the Korth Dominion, the insectoid commander slammed a claw into the controls. They mock us. They move as if we do not exist. Fire upon them. His officers hesitated. High Commander, the humans have not attacked us. They are ignoring us. Do you not see? That is the insult. If they fear nothing from us, then they must be taught fear. The order was given. Across the Dominion fleet, weapons charged. A volley of plasma fire streaked across the void and slammed into the nearest human ship. For an instant, the galaxy held its breath. The human vessel did not explode. Instead, space itself seemed to bend around it. The plasma streams twisted, curved, and vanished, as if swallowed by invisible jaws. Then the ship responded. It did not unleash missiles or lasers. Instead, a low vibration pulsed outward. The Dominion fleet shuddered. Metal groaned. Hulls bent and warped as if crushed by unseen hands. Ships buckled, their engines tearing free, their weapons twisting uselessly. And yet, not one ship was destroyed. Not a single alien life was ended. The human weapons did not kill, they humiliated. In seconds, the proud Dominion fleet was nothing more than drifting, broken wreckage, alive but powerless. The other fleets watched in silence, stunned. No weapon in the galaxy worked that way. No technology they knew could bend space itself to crush ships without destroying them. The humans had revealed only a glimpse of their strength, and it was enough to freeze every empire with fear. Then a single message broadcasted across all channels. A human voice, calm and firm. Stay out of the way. No threats. No promises. No declarations of war. Only a command, simple and final. The fleets hesitated. Some debated retreat, others argued to strike together with overwhelming numbers. But no one moved. No one dared. The humans sailed past, their vast fleet pushing toward the galactic rim, leaving behind disabled Dominion ships drifting like broken toys. In the council chamber, chaos erupted when reports arrived. Some demanded immediate war, others argued for caution. The speaker's crystalline voice rose above the fury. Do you not see? Humanity is not fighting us. They are fighting something else. But the question grew louder in every hall, in every empire, in every fearful whisper across the stars. What enemy could make humanity prepare in silence for centuries? And why were they heading into the dark beyond the galaxy, as if chasing something that terrified even them? The path of the human fleet was no longer a secret. Their ships were not moving toward alien borders, nor circling planets for conquest. They were streaming outward, beyond mapped territory, beyond the rim where the starlight grew thin and cold. It confused the empires, frightened them even more. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, dismissed as fragile dreamers. But the countdown, the prisoner's words, the awakening fleet, and now this strange march into the void, it painted a picture no one could yet understand. Scientists across the galaxy worked night and day to track the fleet. They charted every jump, every trajectory. To their horror, the human path was precise. They were not wandering blindly into the black. They were following a trail, a straight line that cut across uninhabited systems, always leading further outward. Some analysts whispered it looked less like exploration and more like pursuit. Pursuit of something that lay outside the galaxy itself. In the hidden research stations of the Thal, amphibian scholars argued furiously. Why build weapons that bend gravity? Why hide fleets for centuries? Why count down if not for war? Another researcher leaned over his console, his voice quiet. Perhaps the countdown was not about war. Perhaps it was about timing. They were waiting for something. Or someone. At the same time, spies from rival empires scrambled to infiltrate human networks, but they found nothing. Earth itself remained quiet, its surface calm, its colonies silent. No transmissions leaked. No diplomats spoke. Humanity acted as though it had sealed itself off from the galaxy entirely, choosing only to reveal what it wanted revealed. But rumors spread. A cargo vessel near the rim sent a desperate transmission before vanishing from all records. The message was garbled, filled with static, but one phrase was clear. It is bigger than a moon, it waits in the dark. The council met in secret session. Holograms of alien leaders flickered around the great chamber, their faces grim. We must act, one demanded. If humans awaken this thing, it could threaten us all. Or perhaps, another replied, the humans are the only ones prepared to face it. Look at how they move. They are not spreading terror. They are hunting. The speaker's crystalline form shone brighter, cutting through the arguments. We forget one truth. Humanity has always been underestimated. We thought them weak, but they endured. We thought them divided, but they united. We thought them silent, but their silence was preparation. Perhaps they were never hiding from us at all. Perhaps they were hiding from what waits beyond. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. No one wanted to admit it, but the evidence was undeniable. Humans were not building their strength to conquer the galaxy. They were bracing for something else, something far worse than war between empires. Meanwhile, along the outer rim, colonies reported strange sightings. Shadows larger than cities drifting through the void. Planets shuddering as though something massive had passed nearby. Star systems flickering, their light dimming unnaturally before returning as if nothing had happened. The reports were scattered, dismissed as panic, until one deep space probe captured an image. It showed a shape, vast and alien, blotting out the stars. It was no ship, no station, no natural formation. It moved with purpose, and it waited exactly where the human fleet was headed. The image spread in whispers across the galaxy, each telling more distorted than the last. Some said it was alive, some said it was a machine, others swore it was both. Whatever it was bigger than anything the galaxy had ever faced. The Council tried to suppress the news, but it was too late. Ordinary citizens now spoke the words that haunted every leader. If that is what waits in the dark, then perhaps humanity was never our enemy. Perhaps they are the only wall between us and it. As the human fleet drew closer to the rim, its formation tightened. Every engine burned brighter, every ship silent, every weapon armed but not aimed at the galaxy behind them. They sailed as if chasing a destiny written long before the Council ever existed. The countdown had ended, but its meaning had only begun to unfold. Humanity was not turning its fury on the empires. It was heading to war against something else. Something so terrible that even the bravest species of the galaxy whispered in fear of what it might be. The transmission came without warning. It cut across the stars the same way the countdown once had. Sudden, inescapable, undeniable. Every channel, every screen, every private network flickered to black, then lit with the same image. For a moment, there was only silence, a stillness that made entire worlds hold their breath. Then the screen shifted, and the galaxy saw something no one would ever forget. It was not a planet, though its size dwarfed many. It was not a machine, though its surface glimmered with unnatural symmetry. It was alive. A monstrous shape coiled around a burning star, its vast body drinking in the light as though feasting. The star dimmed before their eyes, its once bright fire flickering as shadows swallowed it whole. Gasps filled council halls and command bridges. Soldiers stared in silence, their hands frozen over their controls. Civilians collapsed to their knees in horror. The image was too real, too vast, too final. The creature devoured light itself, and it was moving. Then the human voice came, calm and steady, carried across every world. This is what waits in the dark. The image shifted again, showing not one, but many. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, of the vast star eaters drifting beyond the rim. Each moved slowly, yet with purpose. Each fed on suns, swallowing the fire that gave life to worlds. And each one was moving closer, step by step, toward the galaxy's edge. The voice continued. For centuries, humanity stayed silent. We let you think us weak, divided, fragile. We let you believe we were behind. But silence was preparation. We were not hiding from you. We were hiding from them. A wave of unease rippled across the galaxy. Leaders who once mocked humans felt their throats tighten. Commanders who once planned invasions sat in stunned silence. Every being, no matter how proud, no matter how powerful, felt the same truth settle on them. The humans had known. The message did not end with threats, nor with requests. Instead, it offered only one choice. Fight with us, or die later. The transmission cut to black. In its wake, the galaxy erupted in chaos. Some empires mocked the message, claiming it was false, human propaganda designed to frighten rivals. Others believed it instantly, pointing to the vanishing colonies, to the shadows seen on the rim, to the probe's images of shapes larger than moons. Admirals argued. Governments split. Some whispered of alliance, others of betrayal. The galaxy was fractured, afraid, uncertain. But then came the first proof that no denial could erase. An outer rim colony of the Orvic Empire went silent. Patrol fleets sent to investigate never returned. The last transmission, filled with static and terror, showed the shadow of a vast body blotting out the stars, and then nothing. Within days, 3 more colonies were gone. Entire worlds erased without fire, without warning. Fear spread faster than light. Civilians begged for protection. Leaders ordered fleets to mobilize, though few dared to send them toward the rim. The bravest soldiers felt small, their weapons meaningless against the hunger of Star Eaters. And through it all, the human fleet pressed on. Thousands of ships, united and silent, sailing straight toward the nightmare. The council convened again. Voices screamed in anger and terror. They bring death to us. No, the humans are going to fight them. We cannot trust them. They will turn their weapons against us next. They are the only ones who prepared. Look at their fleet. Look at their weapons. Do you not see? They have been waiting for this war for centuries. The speaker's voice, calm and crystalline, finally cut through the uproar. The truth is simple. We face an enemy none of us can defeat alone. The humans knew this day would come. Now it is here. You may deny, you may fight, you may curse them, but the choice they gave us is the only choice we have. Fight with them, or die when the dark reaches us. Silence filled the chamber. No one wanted to admit the truth, but the shadow of the Star Eaters grew closer each day. The countdown was over. The enemy had arrived. And for the first time in its history, the galaxy was forced to decide whether to stand beside humanity, or face the dark alone. The alliance was forged in silence, not with cheers or ceremony, but with fear. One by one, empires that had spent centuries at war with one another sent their fleets to follow humanity into the dark. Not because they trusted humans, not because they suddenly loved them, but because the alternative was death. The Star Eaters did not bargain, did not speak, did not stop. They devoured suns, and when the suns were gone, the worlds around them froze into silence. The combined fleets gathered near the rim, a mass of ships so vast that even the stars seemed crowded out. Yet despite their numbers, unease weighed heavy. Commanders who had sworn never to fight beside rivals now shared battle plans. Soldiers glanced nervously at the human fleet, still moving with the same calm precision, as if the thousands of alien ships around them were nothing more than shadows. When the first Star Eater appeared, all debate ended. It drifted from the black like a living eclipse, its vast body blotting out entire constellations. Weapons from 100 species fired at once. Beams of plasma, missiles tipped with antimatter, exotic weapons designed to pierce planetary shields. The void lit up like a second dawn, brilliant and furious. And when the light faded, the Star Eater remained, untouched. The weapons had done nothing. Panic rippled through the alien ranks. Admirals shouted for retreat. Some ships began to turn, ready to flee. But the humans moved forward. Their ships did not fire in panic. They advanced in a tight formation, engines burning white-hot. Then, at once, they unleashed their weapons. Not beams or missiles, but gravity itself. Space folded, bent, tore at the edges of the creature's massive body. The Star Eater howled, not in sound but in a vibration that rattled bones and metal alike. For the first time, the galaxy saw one of the monsters recoil. Alien crews stared in disbelief. Humanity had weapons that worked. Humanity had known how to fight. Humanity had been waiting for this. But then, something even stranger happened. The humans did not press the attack to finish the creature. Instead, they shifted formation, placing their ships between the Star Eater and the nearest alien colony fleet. The gravity weapons flared again, not to kill, but to shield. They bent space itself into a wall, absorbing the creature's terrible strike while alien ships escaped. To the galaxy, it looked like madness. The humans were sacrificing their fleets to save strangers, to save rivals, to save those who had mocked and ignored them for centuries. Alien commanders watched in shock as human ships crumpled under the strain, burning themselves out to buy time for others. Why? An admiral whispered, his voice trembling. Why do they throw away their ships like this? No species fights like that. On the human channels, the answer was simple, spoken in quiet, firm tones. Because every second matters. Because if even one world survives, it will be worth it. The aliens did not understand. They had built empires on conquest and survival, not sacrifice. To see humans willingly bleed for them unsettled something deep inside. For the first time, many began to wonder if perhaps humans were not reckless at all. Perhaps they were something else entirely. And then the truth began to reveal itself. As the battle raged, strange signals pulsed from the heart of the human fleet. Not commands in words, not coordinates, but something deeper. A rhythm, a pattern, a pulse that carried across every ship. Alien scientists detected it and stared in disbelief. It was not machine code. It was biological. The humans were connected. Not just by comms or strategy, but by something living, something shared. Billions of them, across ships and worlds, had linked their minds together. A network of thought and will, turning human unity into a weapon greater than any fleet. The aliens did not yet understand how. But they felt it. The air on their ships grew heavy with it, a storm pressing against the edges of their minds. The humans were not fighting alone. They were fighting as one. And though the Star Eater loomed, though colonies burned, though ships fell silent in the dark, a single terrible realization began to spread among the galaxy's oldest empires. The humans had not yet revealed their true weapon. They themselves were the weapon. The final battle came at the edge of the void. The place where the galaxy's light thinned and the black stretched endlessly, where no empire had ever dared to settle. It was there the Star Eaters gathered in numbers too vast to count. Their vast bodies coiled around dying suns, their endless hunger devouring every spark of light they touched. The Allied fleets trembled at the sight. Millions of alien soldiers sat in their ships, staring into the abyss, knowing they were outmatched. Even with every empire united, their weapons meant nothing. Plasma fire, antimatter, kinetic slugs, none of it mattered. Against the Star Eaters, they were sparks against an ocean. But the humans did not tremble. Their fleet moved forward, thousands of ships aligned like pieces of one great machine. They opened their channels, not to speak, but to reveal. And then the galaxy understood what had been hidden all along. The humans were no longer many. They were one. Billions of them, across ships, across colonies, across Earth itself, had merged into something greater. A living network, a storm of thought and will. Their minds, linked through technology and something more ancient still, burned like a second sun. The galaxy felt it before they saw it. The pressure in the air, the weight in their chests, the sense of countless eyes opening at once. And then the humans struck. It was not fire. It was not steel. It was willpower made real, thought made into force. The void itself seemed to ignite as the human collective lashed out. The Star Eaters recoiled, their vast bodies twisting as though struck by something older than time. The aliens watched in awe and terror. No fleet could have done this. No empire could have dreamed of it. The humans had turned themselves into a weapon beyond comprehension. Every sacrifice, every century of silence, every hidden fleet, it had all been preparation for this moment. The Star Eaters shrieked their silent vibration, thrashing against the storm. They were older, larger, hungrier than anything the galaxy had ever known. But against humanity's unity, even they began to falter. Ships shattered. Stars flared and died. The void burned with the clash of will and hunger. In the chaos, alien crews saw things they would never forget. Human ships diving into the maw of Star Eaters, tearing themselves apart to open wounds in the monsters. Others holding position against impossible odds, shielding alien vessels as though their lives meant less than seconds bought for strangers. And then, at the heart of it all, the storm of human thought flared brighter. For one perfect instant, billions of human voices spoke as one, not in words, but in meaning. A message the galaxy felt in its bones. This is why we never held back. This is why we prepared. This is why we fight. The Star Eaters broke. One by one, the giants tore apart under the storm, their vast bodies unraveling into dust and shadow. The void shook with their death throes, and then silence returned. A silence not of fear, but of victory. The galaxy's fleets drifted in stunned quiet. Alien commanders, once proud and arrogant, sat in disbelief. They had fought beside humans, but they knew the truth. They had not won this war. Humanity had. And just as quickly as it began, the humans pulled back. The great unity unraveled. The storm of thought faded. Their fleets, scarred and battered, turned away from the rim. They offered no speeches, no demands, no celebration. They simply left, sailing back into their own space without a word. The council tried to call them, to thank them, to question them. No reply came. Humanity had returned to its silence. But the galaxy would never forget. Every world, every species, every empire now whispered the same truth. The day humanity stopped holding back was the day the galaxy changed forever. And in the silence that followed, one fear lingered in every heart. If this was what humans unleashed against their enemies, what would happen the day they decided to unleash it against the galaxy itself?